Fruit Podcast. My name's Jacob.
My name's Joe.
And I'm Ethan. And today we got some exciting guests. The ladies behind the Anime Starter Pack podcast. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Claire, go ahead, and then I'll tell how terrible I am.
Hello, my name is Claire Gershon.
Hi, I'm Mariah Rose Faith. We did all this already, and my garage band crashed, so we're back.
We're back, baby.
Living the life.
That's all right.
Woo!
You know what? Second take's never a bad thing.
No.
Second take's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, we're back. We just did a little bit of a discussion on Fruits Basket. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Because this is what the Anime Starter Pack has started out around. You guys couldn't speak highly enough about the show, so we all went and watched the first episode. Maybe we even hold our reactions because as you guys know, if you've listened to our last Choose-A-Rama, our next genre for our Choose-A-Rama episode is the folklore and Japanese mythology kind of broad genre.
Yeah.
So, and Fruits Basket absolutely fits that to a T. So this might be one of our picks. I don't know who from. Also, I listened. I shouldn't say I listened. I was gifted with Cat's next topic, and it is so good.
Oh, really? The topic
it
next?
is so good.
Oh, I can't wait.
You guys are gonna get you. I mean, you're gonna have to install a seatbelt into your chair that you have right there, Jacob. Buckle in.
Oh, do I?
Because when she announces
is it a
this,
single strap? Do I have a cross strap? Is it like a racing harness?
Yeah,
Let me know what I need to do.
You're gonna be like a roller coaster.
Okay, so I got the one like in between the legs, and then I do the double
one
shoulder.
that connects between.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'm in. I'm strapped in. Okay. I know we don't.
I don't think he's going to tell us. He's not going to tell us.
I know, but I'm excited now. I'm all strapped in. What do you want me to do?
Right.
You know,
just make sure you hydrate. Just make sure you hydrate before that episode.
I'm gonna. Oh man.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. That's true.
Gatorade water.
That's true.
Hey, stay in the clear,
Electrolytes.
ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
All right. So I'm sorry. That was
Wait, are you going to
a
reveal
huge
it?
aside.
Talk about a tangent. What?
I shouldn't.
We're just teasing. We're just teasing the people.
Nah, that's what he does. That's what he
That's
does.
the tease.
Well, Mariah,
He's just a tease.
now we'll have to tune in.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Mariah, now you've never been more interested in our next Choose-A-Rama episode.
I'm quaking.
Oh man.
Okay. So I'd like you guys to just do a quick introduction of yourselves and the Anime Starter Pack, where people can find you, why it's the most fantastic Fruits Basket watch-along you could possibly find online.
Claire, give him the bare minimum, and I'm going to do that plot 5-second spark.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
Boom.
Basically, Mariah and I started watching Fruits Basket about a year ago. We took a huge hiatus, and then when quarantine started, we thought, might as well pick it back up where we left off. And we were talking so much over Zoom. Like Mariah's boyfriend has always said, you guys talk so much during these episodes. Like, you're literally just having a conversation during the episode. So we thought, hey,
Correct.
might as well just record our Zooms and post them on Spotify and Apple Podcast and like wherever else podcasts are available. And we started season 2, episode 2, because that's where we left off when we decided to start the podcast.
Yeah. I think most people go, I want to start having friends to watch an anime with at season 2, episode 2.
Yeah.
So we heard
I've said that like
Can I just
so
say,
many times to myself.
what a gift.
Man.
What a gift. You can watch that whole first season unabridged.
Yeah.
Just power through. And then
You're right.
you get season 2 and you're like, you know what? Now I want to sit back,
and have
hear
friends.
a little bit of the other input, hear the other side of the river a little bit.
The other side of the river. That's where we take place. That's where we're based.
Yes.
Yes.
It's good stuff. We designed this podcast and so that if you're alone and you don't have friends to watch anime with, that you can have friends to watch anime with. And we're your friends. We don't know everybody's name, just like you. And we're going and we're doing the best that we can. And we're very passionate.
Oh, yeah.
So that's us.
Passion is everything.
Ooh, we're loud.
You know?
Passion's all. We're loud.
Big,
So much
loud,
screaming.
hectic, out here, going, goated,
Going.
fucking, just going,
But,
you know?
Yep.
That's us. We talked so more in our first take, but that died. That's gone with the wind, and now we're here.
Now we're
So-
here.
We're here.
Yep.
So, Gone with the Wind, much like a silent voice, which
Yeah.
happens to be the name of the movie that we watched.
Oh my god.
Wow.
This is
Yeah.
Great segue.
How did,
Boy.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
this movie made me feel a lot.
Dude.
Yeah.
Made me feel a lot.
Christ.
I mean, yes, correct.
Yeah.
Valid.
Yeah. I gotta
Um,
whip out my notes on this guy because, like,
uh,
wow.
Joe's whipping
Yeah,
out the
how
notes.
do y'all even start into this movie? Because, like, I don't know
Well-
about you, Claire. Claire and I watched this last night at like midnight, and we ended and we just went, I don't know, dude. See you tomorrow.
We were
Like, I don't know how we get into this.
we were like, we gotta process for a sec. It's
Yeah.
And I
Well,
speaking of my boyfriend,
hold on.
real fast, he had watched this before too, and I remember it. I had this
Oh, really?
memory from the past, probably about I don't know, a few months ago, where he was like, "I watched this movie. You should watch it." And I watched 2 seconds of the trailer, and I went, "No, too sad." And I said, "We're gonna watch a horror movie."
Man, that's it right
Yep.
there, though. Oh,
Too sad.
Too sad. Too sad. Watch Scary Thing. That's
Scary
it.
thing instead. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I interrupted.
Yeah.
Continue.
all good. So I just wanted to say real quick, as just kind of a presentation for the movie itself. So this is a silent voice, the movie, which is the full thing. They put the movie as part of the movie title
Yeah.
because, of course,
You got to know. You got to make sure you're not.
You got to know
You
it.
got to make sure you're not watching a movie of the
Yeah.
manga because this is the
Right.
movie of the
no,
movie.
like, hey, it's a movie,
Yes.
not a show.
So this is based off of a manga, which the manga started as a one shot, goes, it just keeps rolling back. We picked this. I mean, I shouldn't say we. Jacob, you picked
I
this
did pick this.
because why?
Well, so currently we're watching Violet Evergarden, and
Okay.
we're watching that because the category that Kat gave us was specifically like women in anime and trying to find shows where you get away from all of the stereotypes that I feel like anime portrays to the regular person.
Yeah.
Which is always very sexualized. It's very degrading. There's a lot of bad shit. So we wanted to show people, hey, here's some options that you can get away from that, and that's what we've been
Awesome.
doing with Violet Evergarden. So then,
I'm a big fan of Kat.
yeah, no, she's great.
She loves
She's the best. She literally is the chooser. We've hit a point where
Yes.
she's called the chooser of our fate because she chooses the fate of where our podcast goes every single time.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. But so then when I was
Yes.
thinking about a movie and we were talking and trying to see if we could get you guys on board, and then that went through and we were like, okay, great. And I'm sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, okay, this one I think is a good one. I've heard good things about it. It is female directed, which is really
We love
cool.
that.
Because I don't
We
Wait
Yeah.
for that.
we love
yeah,
that.
exactly. And I don't, and I feel like especially in the anime industry, I don't think that's super
Oh
common.
my god, yeah. No, rarely.
Really, it's not common anywhere, and that should change. But,
Yeah. Go on.
but so this
Like,
movie,
go off.
Yeah.
so this movie, yeah. So this movie had that, and the main accolade that this director had was she was the director of K-On!, which was a very popular
Yes.
show about a bunch of girls in a band.
Yeah.
So I heard good things about it, and I was like, yeah, let's go for it. I read a little synopsis, and I was like, I don't know how I felt. But man, once we got into it, woo!
Holy
What a
shit.
love, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot. I specifically, I wanted us to watch this in the English dub, just to see that side of it, because I think a lot of the time we watch things in sub. Ethan and I watched it in dub. Joe apparently didn't hear me, and he watched it in sub anyways. So
Classic.
I don't know.
Joe, oh my god.
I don't think I meant to. I'm trying to think back. Like, I watched it a couple days ago now, and I'm like, maybe I did watch it dub, but
what do you mean
there-
you don't remember?
I don't know. You're bringing like you guys were like I didn't know how this happened or where this came from, and I was just like I felt like that was pretty clear.
Did you
I
have
was like, maybe I
subtitles
was
on or
reading.
not?
No, I don't. I don't remember.
Okay,
You
so
know what I tend to do is I tend to watch things in dub and then I'll keep the captions up so I get the sub caption.
That's what I did for.
So I get the
that's
best
what I did for
idea.
Silent Voice.
Yeah.
That's
brilliant.
genius.
Because then you get
That's
the
what I do.
because then you get the
Brilliant.
proper translations with the
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we
that's
should
my
say-
key.
Because this is a perfect segue into
Yes.
relationships in this show were not conveyed in any kind of like what I would consider to be efficient or great way in the dub. But then after talking to Joe before we even started recording, evidently in the sub that these relationships, specifically between some people that show up in the household,
Show
what's his name, Pedro, and the little girl, Maria.
Maria. Yeah, it was very
Oh,
confusing in the dub what like their exact relation was because at certain points Shoya was like, "Oh, Maria's my little sister," but then later it's like brought in that no, she's like the granddaughter of his mom.
Yeah.
And
His niece.
That took us half the movie to
so
figure
then his
out.
niece. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I had a moment. Well, here's the thing. Claire and I recorded a podcast watch through that didn't work out. But there was a moment 20 minutes in where I was like, I think that's his niece. And then we waited the whole movie
Right.
to find concrete detail about being like,
Right.
his niece.
Mhm.
Right, yeah, and it was like literally a
Yeah.
single sentence at like 5 minutes to the end of the movie where they finally said like grandma, and I was like, oh, and then like
You
Pedro.
also never see his sister's face.
No, that's
Which
what
I
we were-
think is kind of
it was
interesting.
It's very
Like,
interesting.
That's
choice.
also how it is in the manga. We just found out after I read some wiki stuff.
Oh, wow.
She never shows up in the manga
yeah,
either.
very odd choice.
Um,
Very weird.
Yeah,
Because you
I don't
literally
know-
see his brother-in-law, but you don't see his sister's face? I
Yeah.
thought that was really interesting.
Not to mention
Yeah.
that you see his brother-in-law literally just like pop in the door and he's like, "Hey
Hi.
guys, I'm Pedro," and then he's
Yeah.
gone. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
Mariah and
what
I
was
watched
that?
together, like I
loved
think
it.
I missed it. I think I was talking and just missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like,
Super weird.
yeah, so dad showed up. He was
Yeah.
deployed. You know, it's like
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Definitely
yeah.
some of those little nitpicky things were there, but
That's the key of the sub. I think I only knew that even at the beginning where I was like, okay, I think that's his niece because I read something in the caption
Mm.
that
Right.
led to that.
yeah, and
Sure.
that's why
And
that's
that
why
just
yeah.
wasn't there in the dub at all.
Yeah, that's what we
No,
were getting so
not at all.
confused by. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
totally.
But
That's
moving-
that's a certainly
Yeah,
nitpicky
very nitpicky
thing.
But
yeah. Oh yeah.
moving into the main, the main sections of the story, I mean, geez, like the movie opens up on him almost committing suicide, but then deciding not to. And like it's a really dark opening. Just really like, man, I don't know if I was
Oh,
ready
yeah.
for all that right now. But now we're here.
Yeah.
It's immediate.
It's immediate. And I think using the bridge is always a very heavy way of visually representing
Yeah.
that.
I think that the bridge is significant later on in the film.
Yeah.
When I looked back on it, I
Right,
understood
yes,
why.
absolutely.
Because he takes what I consider to be like the leap of faith later on.
It's a metaphor,
with this,
man.
with this girl.
The bridge.
Initially, yeah, it was a very stereotypical choice as far. I mean, doesn't that sound really just fucked
Yeah,
up?
that sounded really fucked
But
up.
it
Yeah.
does. Yeah, that is what it is. But I think the opening of this was really well done.
Yeah.
Also in translating to what immediately follows, it's just his younger self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the art style
Mhm.
is really well
Mhm.
done. They show him a lot of times you get confused about age of characters,
Yes.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that.
gender of characters, whatever that may be. And this is translated really well between the middle school him and what is then I kind of perceived it to be like junior or senior year of high
Yeah,
school.
yeah,
Is that
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
They
we
say
did
he
too.
turns
18.
18.
Yeah.
They said Yeah, they said that the younger version of him was like 6th grade.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
it was good that they said
Right.
it because I would not have known.
No.
Oh, because
Right.
Claire and I
Yeah.
were talking, like, when we thought his present day's age before he even was at school, we were like, oh, he's like in his 20s. That's what we thought instantly.
Right.
And then he was back at school, and we were like, oh, let's probably say 17, 18, which ended up being the age.
Right.
But
Exactly.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they did a really good job of that.
Yeah.
But I think they also did a really good job of portraying, like, I don't know what you guys had an experience in middle school, but my entire like grade school experience was phenomenal. And I had those friends who kind of like come and go. And in middle school especially, like you have those friends that are there in middle school, you guys kind of grow apart in high school, whatever. But that childish friendship of like, we connect because we have similar interests, we connect because whatever it may be, is complete. I don't think I've ever really seen that even portrayed in this just regular films, like the coming and going of friendship between high school, just maturity and what you consider to be like adolescence, is really interesting to see.
Yeah.
Here and also like the bullying aspect.
Yeah.
Of those friends turning on you and suddenly becoming your enemies, or suddenly becoming like
Ooh.
that person that I avoid
like-
eye contact with, that person I avoid like at my locker.
And I like that there was different like each character fit a role of a certain type of either not necessarily always bullying,
Right.
but also just like a
cool dude.
Well, it's like no. It's like so for instance, like you get the different things like with like Naoka Ueno is like a straight up bully all the way through.
We
God, I
hate her.
that.
She's the worst. She's the worst.
Oh,
Yeah.
And they never really redeem her
Yeah,
either, which is
that was
interesting.
one of my main.
No, they don't.
I don't have like many complaints of this movie whatsoever. It was a great movie, but that was one of my main complaints. Is
And that's why I'm so glad we have you guys on here, because that female perspective,
Oh, we'll get
especially
there.
of friendships, because I think even Miki, the blonde
Oh, I have
woman
a
with
opinion.
braids, yeah, I think even her relationship was really passive aggressive and really
Absolutely.
It was exactly.
self-redeeming. Like she
Yeah.
felt like she was like redeemed in her own
well,
shoes.
She
like
never
I became a different
apologized.
She's
person.
She never
self-righteous.
apologized.
Exactly, and that was the biggest thing,
Yeah.
is that she
And
never owned up to her.
and that's what I mean is I
Uh-huh.
like that it's not like every person in this scenario was like directly a bully. Some of
Yes,
them,
that's what I was going to say too.
yeah, because there is
It
a
feels, go ahead.
there's a you know that there is a serious thing that occurs where you're gonna have a pack leader and then people that follow. It is a thing that occurs, especially when you're younger in groups like that, where Miki's probably like that because she just doesn't want to be disliked by anyone in particular.
totally.
But in turn, she is turning a blind eye to things that she shouldn't be turning a blind eye to, which in turn makes her just as guilty, but she doesn't want to believe it, which is why that was her main struggle throughout the whole film.
Yeah. I think sometimes that, especially I find with young girls, it's like they go, I didn't directly bully you. I'm not to blame. It's like, but your lack of actions and your support in those who were providing action is, in my opinion, just as bad. You were standing side by side. You were their partner in this. And, she fully, to kind of fast forward a little bit, when she is kind of called out of being a bully, she fully cries in 6th grade. And she's like, I would never do that. Because in her perspective, she's like, I didn't. But in ours, watching this film, it's like, well, yes, you did.
And it relates to that first, it
plays the
relates to
victim.
one of the first scenes in the movies where we see, oh God, what's his name? Shoya, main character. We see Shoya intervene when Tomohiro, is that how you pronounce it? I have a list of the character names. I don't.
Tomohiro.
When Tomohiro is getting bullied and he's getting his bicycle taken away, we see, like, that's a great moment of just immediate. We know he's different from before because he doesn't even just like ignore it. He intervenes. Separating him from the bystanders of that middle school scene in 6th grade.
Right.
Which, like, if I could talk more about that scene for a hot second.
Go
Just
for
hit
it.
it.
Loved
Yeah, please,
that was the
please.
perfect setup. And I like this is what I look for in stories. Like that was the perfect setup of how he has changed because not only does he intervene, but he de-escalates the situation not with aggression, but with just giving the bully his own bike, which then shows that he has a self-sacrificial
sacrifice.
quality to him. Sets up that he maybe like doesn't feel the best about himself, feels like he has to atone a little bit. Like I think that was really well done.
Yeah, it's a very good, you're right. You're totally right. It's a very good save the cat scene. It's exactly that scene where you get not only like his morality, but you get the layer of like where he is as a person, like immediately out of just a little interaction. You're totally right. That's very smart.
I just want to go back real quick before we get too far.
Go for it.
I also want to talk about the scene with Shoya and his mom when she kind of confronts him first time.
Oh, that was
When he was
amazing.
Yeah, let's not skip that because I think that was very important. But even prior to that, I think we had covered as far as the timeline of the movie itself. His relationship not only with his classmates, but also like I think that this film portrayed the popularity in middle school comes a lot from being the loudest in the room or like the strongest personality in the room.
Yeah.
And also like those tides turn so fast, and I loved how they portrayed him becoming like one of the more popular kids and that confusion that he even had and like, why am I popular? And is it because is the only reason I'm popular or have friends because I'm the bully?
Yeah.
And I can totally relate to that because I was definitely one of the kids who was bullied in middle school, but then stood up to those people. And later on in high school, I felt like I had like some of the best years of my life because that those people that were bullies in middle school and were like the popular kids were suddenly like, kind of the outcasts in high school, which is really super interesting though, to look back on, even in our generation.
Yeah, well, the same thing happens in this anime where people who were complicit, who didn't really stop it, but let it happen, grow up and realize that, that guy was actually a dick. Let's shun them.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's for the best, and sometimes, as we see here, it can be really detrimental.
Right, and I find it really curious about the reason that he feels the need to act out so much. I was wondering if they were going to bring up something because he kind of already seems like that out the gate before Shoko shows up. And I was kind of curious, like, because I don't think they really bring up anything in particular for why he is the one that kind of acts out a lot. But they do seem to convey it like it's a very typical thing because
I think it was just for the popularity.
You think it was just that?
I mean, Mariah and I watching this, like, we don't fucking trust 6th grade boys. Like,
no. I also think like it's one of those weird things where I think, especially when you're a kid, there's that fear with things that you don't understand. And you want to poke around with it, and you don't know how.
Yeah.
And I think for him, he was like, he's always the boy. He was the boy that like the girls would like because he teases them, And all of a sudden he goes, I don't know how to mess around with this girl. She actually cannot hear me. We don't understand each other. That makes it so it's unknown territory for him where he cannot feel intelligent. Right. And all of a sudden he's like, I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm just going to be mean, essentially.
Right. And no one stops him.
No one stops him. Yeah.
No one stops him. I think a great movie that deals with this in a different way. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Paranorman.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Great film. That kind of deals with it. Weirdly, I don't know why my brain tied into it, but it's like the fear of things that you don't understand, and therefore you decide it's bad.
Right.
And I think especially people who don't think beyond that feeling, or young kids, 12-year-old boys, that's how they're going to react. Where he's like calling her this weirdo and these terrible names, and she's literally just existing.
Right.
Like that is all that she is doing.
Right. Every time he's throwing an insult at her, she's literally like saying, "Can we be friends?" It's
Yes. Yes.
it just made
break my
Yeah,
heart.
it just
Like,
made it all the
oh
more
my
sad because of
gosh.
how like she just it's just what you just said. She just wanted to exist and just
Yeah.
be able to do what she wanted
One
to
of
do.
the moments in the
Exactly.
show that really got to me and you, I think, Mariah, was that that really uncomfortable to watch fight that they had in sixth
Yeah.
grade,
Oh.
where
Yeah.
he's like assaulting her, and
Yeah.
at the end of
Yeah.
it, she says something like, "I'm trying my best,"
I'm trying
Yeah.
my
And
best.
and she like
That-
yells
oh,
it.
God.
That really got to us.
yeah.
It's like
And
such an undiluted like this is who she is. Like this
And
is
I-
what she
I'm
wants.
trying.
Right.
Right. And I think it's a very interesting way to, considering that the story mainly focuses on Shoya. I think it's so interesting how they basically make him the antagonist in those flashbacks. He's
Yeah.
a bad person.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We
100%.
hate
You know?
him.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, right.
we're
Yeah.
supposed
And then-
to hate him.
Right. And then
Yeah.
and then you're
I don't think we even like him until the last 5 minutes of the film. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's how I felt.
I think it's interesting how they were able to make him multifaceted, because by the time that he's grown up and he feels so terrible about what he's done, and it's affected the entirety of like his being to the point to where he's shut himself off from everyone because he thinks that he's someone who does damage to people, right?
Mhm.
And again,
Mhm.
not saying that condones anything, but that's what's so interesting is that he's being a real human being. He's done this bad stuff. He regrets it. He's trying to change. He's doing little things to do that. But then we even see in the way that it reintroduces himself into Shoko's life, it ends up kind of being a selfish action to make himself feel better. And he realizes
Yeah.
that later. You know?
He does, and he never actually says that, but you can they portray it so well that he's
Yeah.
having this like internal conflict
Yeah.
where he's just like, why am I doing this? And I think it's
Right.
actually
Other characters pointed out to
Naoka.
him.
Is that how you say her? Naoka.
The
When she
dark-haired
first
girl.
sees him,
Is it
Naoka.
Nauka?
Nauka, I think.
Nauka. I think
Yeah.
it's Nauka.
Okay.
She's
Yeah.
the worst.
when she first sees him again,
Yeah.
and she kind of they have this kind of like back and forth, but she kind of says like, "Are you just trying to like make amends to make yourself feel better?"
Yeah.
Mm.
And you can see it in the way that they draw him in the next panel, where he is just like,
Mate,
"Am I?"
Yeah.
And then he quickly he doesn't even say like, "How are you doing today?" Nothing. He's just kind of like, I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Peace out. And he's having that same kind of situation in his mind.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's
love
like
that.
I think that's one of the main things of the show is like this girl literally is just existing, and that this is fast forwarding a little bit, but that's scene on the bridge when everyone's is all of the friends that Shoya has made are fighting with him and yelling at him,
Yeah.
like over how he treated her. She
Yeah.
doesn't say a word in that whole scene. Like all of this is just their projections onto
That's
her.
true.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
like she doesn't say a word. Which I thought was like really an intelligent way to frame it of like she was just sort of the catalyst for all of their own personal shit to come up to the
100%.
surface. And they're all just like
Yeah.
projecting onto this poor girl. And then it shows
Yeah.
like how detrimental that is to her at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And it shows how much they couldn't
Yeah.
handle that it was within themselves, because as soon as he turns it around on all of them when he's sitting there in the fetal position, and all of those words, they hurt, but they were real. And that's why all of them got so upset. A couple of them were just mainly jabs that he was throwing out just to make because he was putting up a wall by shoving
Yeah.
everyone away.
Of
But
course.
the things that he said to Naoka and Miyoko and Miki were all pretty true, and none of them were facing it.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Mariah, I just had this thought,
What's that?
and this doesn't even have to go into the final thing if you don't want it to, but having played like what could be considered like one of the biggest high school bullies of like,
Yeah.
pop culture, do you feel like you can understand Shoya's point of view any better from like that experience, or do you think that like
I
this
think
is completely separate?
no, I think I mean honestly, I'm gonna go to Nyoka for a second and talk about her. I'm the biggest Nyoka hater in this whole bit.
Yeah.
But at the
Sure,
same
sure.
time, like, even if I parallel, to those who don't know, I've played Regina George in the Broadway production on tour of Mean Girls. It's one of those things where they're being direct, they're being terrible and cruel and mean, but what they are saying to people is allowing those to reflect on the things that they are putting out into the world. Where, like, I hate every second of this character in this movie. I hate her.
Yeah, she's terrible.
She's terrible. She's
Yeah.
so cruel.
Yeah.
But she is bringing these characters, our two main characters, out to be able to understand them better, which does not justify her actions. But I do think that in reality, it takes sometimes terrible and cruel and, like, rawly honest individuals to make us see what parts of ourselves we dislike and that we care about.
Storytelling wise,
Wow.
she's
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Yes, storytelling wise, she had to
exactly.
be there.
Yeah.
Sure. And do you feel like it's justified that she's still around in the end? Like that she's
That
still
was what I
considered to
had.
be,
I had
like-
a bit of an issue with that. I understand.
yeah.
I kind of understand like the message they were trying to go for, which is like like sometimes
Everyone's redeemable.
I kind of understand that, but I don't know if it was the most
No.
effective way to portray that in this specific
Yeah.
situation.
I
Correct.
felt like that was
Yeah.
the one that fell short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the one that's like, there isn't something to me where I went, oh, okay, I see the teenager in her. To me, it was just like, no, you're cruel and you have time to,
Right.
you need time.
Yeah.
Right. And
To
and she
understand
had
that.
time.
Yeah.
And she
I feel like that was the equivalent of like them having brought back like Kazuki or like the other guy that was Shoya's friend in middle school who had
Yeah.
The blonde dude.
you
Yes,
know,
yes.
That was a great moment.
I guess saved him from the river.
Yeah.
Great moment
That-
when they
Like
brought
if they
him
had
back.
brought them back as like good friends in the end, I think that would have been cheapened
Yeah.
Yeah,
significantly, and I think
agree.
that Naoka fell into that same vein
did.
only because they didn't give enough
Mhm.
time.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
We didn't get that
Okay.
moment of
And
her
I
apologizing.
think-
We didn't get her moment of any kind of redemption besides
Yeah.
whatever whatever it is we did
I
get.
also like.
I
oh,
thi-
you go. Sorry.
No. Please go for
I
it.
was gonna say, like, I feel like they were trying to sort of solidify her into this like friend group that we've made throughout the movie. But I think
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with, like, she says to Shoko, she says, like, I just don't get you. I don't understand you. I don't get your thing. And, like, that's fine. You don't need to.
Yeah.
I think it would have
Right.
been a
Yeah.
better ending if she had been like, you know what? I just don't, like, I don't get you, but I'm not going to fucking bully you anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she
I'm
never
just
said
going to
that.
accept
Yeah.
that I don't get you and leave you guys and your friends alone and go do my own
Right.
thing. I would have preferred that ending for her, and that ending, in my mind, makes more sense.
Also, it's not like she had been with them for the last few years. Like, it's not like she has this, like, pull to be hanging out with them all the time. Literally, it's
Yeah.
been, like, 5 years and she hasn't.
And that was the one thing that I did. I was
Yeah.
getting a little confused about how her relationship was with Shoya, because it was almost like they were
Yeah.
trying to convey that she was like either like in love with him or she cared about him
Right.
deeply or something. Because like the whole thing about her staying with him while he was in his little like coma and stuff, and I
I
was like,
hated that.
yeah, but I was like, but why? Like I don't really grasp. I think there is maybe a tinge something there where maybe she was into him, and that's something.
She was being possessive.
She was being a little possessive.
It was a cool mirror of the way the main girl's little sister did the same thing to the main character when he tried to visit her, and then she goes and tries to visit him in the hospital.
Which, by the
and
way,
and the
I
and it
love.
does.
I love her.
That's a cool take. I
Yuzuru?
hadn't thought of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a cool mirror, and it's possessive. She being, because in elementary school and stuff, she was kind of the hotshot girl.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
her and the blonde girl were the two, like, I'm just gonna say quote unquote, like, pretty popular girls, and like she couldn't stand somebody else having a grip on this guy and not
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And I think she probably liked him to a point too. Like I do think that she was she had some
I
kind of
didn't see it like
romantic
that
thing.
at all.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's time for Ethan Hot Take Corner.
The discourse.
Yeah.
I love
No,
the
no, I'm
discourse.
sorry. So I think I saw this as he was taking steps that she mentally was not ready and was and still probably is not ready to take. And she was kind of she just thought that was kind of like bigger of him and inspirational in some kind of different way where she saw him as like, I need to learn from him and I need to kind of take notes on like this kind of redemption direction that he's taking, because I think that she wants to do this. I think that she realizes that she's kind of at a rock bottom herself and wishes that she could be doing what Shoya is doing, and she just mentally is not at all ready or matured enough in her own way.
So it's crabs in the bucket. Because she feels like she can't do it, she's trying to drag him back down.
Or maybe just trying to kind of figure out like how he got to the place where he's ready to do this, and so that she can do it herself.
I like both of those.
I don't know if I
takes.
agree with. Yeah, I do like both takes. I don't know if I fully agree that she's like wanting to. I don't know if there was like there's a little bit of a hint there, but I don't know.
I think there's something to be said about like she sort of like she knows what she is. She says like, I'm brutally honest. I'm the honest one. I'm gonna say what I think even if you guys don't like it. So there's that self-awareness to her that I think like it makes her interesting and makes me hate her a tiny bit less.
Right.
Because she knows what she is and she's like playing into the villain role, which I think like happens to people. Like
I do think so, like with she mentions multiple times to Shoya, like, you and I are more alike than you think. And I think that's her just trying to find some sort of acceptance onto why she is still acting this way. I think I mean I like both takes too. I like all takes. I think they're all in a lot of ways true. And definitely can relate to how she's and why she's acting a certain way. But to me, when they're at that one theme park and she's basically just like, you know, like, you're doing this because of this, or you're a bully because of this, and we're the same person. I think that does correlate unto her wanting to stay with him, whether that's because she wants to grow as a person or whether that's because she wants to stay with him because she relates to him in some sort of way. There is, for her, she reminds me of someone I know who is stuck in the past. Who is sort of clinging to like, and she says it multiple times. She's like, I wish we could go back to 6th grade. If she would have never been here, we would have all been the same.
That's true.
And so a lot of these people that she knows and love have grown up and have decided like, hey, things change. We can be friends with these people that we used to hate. And it's okay. Where she's like, no, it's not. It's not okay. And that there's some sort of wall there for her.
That made me.
She doesn't.
That made me think maybe her and I always forget their names. Shoya. Maybe her and Shoya are sort of like showing two different paths that they could have gone on.
Yeah.
Like
that feels very real. Yeah.
Sure.
Shoya is trying to, you know, it fucked him up. It fucked him up a lot. But he's trying to atone in some way. And she is going on this other path that Shoya could have taken, or she could have taken Shoya's path. Like it's just how that sort of thing affects people differently.
Yeah.
How do we feel?
And I think Shoya. I'm sorry, Jacob. Just real quick, just to get on that note. I think that Nayoka sees Miyoko, who's the girl who kind of jumped in as like the almost like class aide. As exactly what you were just saying, Claire, like another path she could have taken. Because she was definitely there. She kind of stepped in immediately as like this new girl's best friend, or like a surrogate best friend, temporary best friend, however you want to label it. And then stepped out of that role quickly because she realized that her class status was taking some kind of detriment because of that. Because the step
she
girl
was starting
wasn't
to get
necessarily
bullied.
accepted, or like exactly. And then Miyoka said, "I don't have a problem with that," and I don't know. I don't know if they ever really necessarily said exactly why she transferred. But I think that the bullying definitely has.
I think 100%.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We all agree
I think
with
once
that.
it got once it got serious enough, and like the things with the hearing aids and like
God.
when it was finally hitting the point where
That's horrible.
Shoya had overextended to such a degree, trying to keep attention on him that he was at a point where he's just literally harming her.
Yeah.
And himself. And I think he knows he's harming himself. Even.
Right. But once it got to that
His
point,
self-image.
I think it's shown in the way that Shoko's mom reacts to him over and over again. Is that's definitely why she ended up moving.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Because definitely, I think Shoko's
So I think we
mom
should
is-
talk
Sorry,
about.
go ahead. I was just gonna say, like, Shoka's mom views it as like, this boy is the reason why we moved. So
Right.
don't hang out with him.
Right.
Yeah.
She's fully valid in that
Yes.
smack across the face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But yes, transition.
So I think we can all agree that Shoya's attempted, or not even attempted, but preemptive or
It's preparation.
I
for
forget what
suicide.
exactly. Sure. We'll call it that. His plans to commit suicide are, obviously his mother catches wind of this in a motherly way.
I really liked
all-
liked that scene, by the way, when she talks to him about
Yeah,
that.
that's all very organic, and I think that's all very relatable for anyone who has ever had like a mother figure in their life, for someone who kind of like see past the bullshit and be like, not have any fear of saying to you like, stop this,
Yeah.
like whatever she says there. I think that comes across
It's
very
so
organic,
good.
and they did that
So
really
good.
well.
Yeah.
So I think transitioning past Shoya, because I think we've gotten him all the way to, as far as our discussion, to where he shows up at Shoika, how do you say it? Shoko's class.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about Shoko's character up to this point? Like, do we all think that she so far has been like exactly what we wanted her to be? Or do you think that she, because personally I felt like they kind of made her almost like, I don't know how I want to say this to make it sound like exactly how I was feeling, but I don't think that she ever made an attempt to really connect with the right people, because I think that she has that kind of like intuition where she can feel who's genuine, and she can tell that Naoko and like Miki and that whole group of girls probably weren't in her best interest. I didn't love that she tried to have her only connection outside of that was Miyoko and in her translation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 They didn't have any kind of character who was kind of like her saving grace, and that was totally story driven, and I get that, but like she never had that chance to redeem herself in middle school, and that was the part that just kind of annoyed me, and I get that they probably just didn't have time.
I think there was a need to have her constantly running into the worst situations.
Yeah.
For
Right,
it
she
to
just was constantly getting kicked down.
I think
man.
there was a need for it to be like that to get to where the climax occurred.
Right. Oh, but it was so brutal.
It was. But I think you need to show that there was some people that were there to try to help and support, which is why I think that like Miyoko was a good character to show that there was like a little bit there. But
and am I wrong in saying that she's the only one? Or there's anyone else?
I mean, not that they showed. I'm sure once she like went to her different school, and then she probably ended up having friends, but it wasn't really the focus ultimately.
Sure. Even the teacher wasn't very supportive.
We hated
He was
Yeah,
just
that
kind of
teacher
like,
was a
be
dick.
quiet.
He was. I mean,
Right?
he was showing up.
He
He
totally
was showing up
was.
to class in a tracksuit. So,
No, that's
Yeah.
that's one of my things about
He
it.
is the
like,
gym teacher.
yeah.
like story aside, I think that this movie is just hyper realistic.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
Yeah.
I understand. Sure, certain characters have to do things to progress the story, but
Very
I
organic.
saw people in my life,
Mm-hmm.
like their faces on the
Absolutely.
characters and
Yeah.
stuff. Like every
Yeah,
single
yeah.
Yeah.
every single one of them. I saw people in my life. for better or worse.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for real.
and I'm studying occupational therapy, and I have taken a couple. I've studied a lot on children with disabilities and stuff, and I think that the main character girl, she like
Noko.
yeah
Shoko.
her need to just have some kind of attachment, especially
Yeah.
being deaf, is like not even exaggerated. I don't think that that's even something that is like, oh, that's just her character. I'm like, no, I think that takes place a lot, especially when it's a communication disorder. Like it really, I think that I like this show or this movie was spot on
Very
with
spot on.
realism.
She's
yeah.
incredibly relatable. Even for people who are not physically disabled.
Right.
Right.
If I may, the one thing that I'm curious about what you all think about it, because I was I'm like a little on the fence about how I feel about it. How do you feel about the efficacy of how they portrayed her being in love with Shoya?
The efficacy?
Like, I thought it was. I'm just
legitimacy.
Like,
of it?
yeah, like I just, does it feel like that made sense all the way to you? I'm just kind of on the fence about it.
Sometimes love doesn't make sense.
I'll say this.
Joe.
Here's the thing.
You
like,
go.
I think, no,
You go, Mariah.
You want me to go or you?
It's true.
I'm gonna talk about this. I think
Okay.
this is one of those things, and Claire and I chatted briefly about it afterwards. That something so great about this film was like, oh, it's this love story between these two characters, you know, and how they were here and here. And then as it slowly starts to go on, you realize that's actually not the intention at all.
Right.
It was about these two being able to actually feel okay with themselves
100%.
and feel okay with existing. And that's why, like, you know, you find people all the time, it's like, they didn't even kiss at the end. And it's like, that would have been terrible if they did. Because that's not what this was about at the end. It was about him being, like, able to not immediately think that the world was against him. And vice versa. So I think, like, I'm actually glad how it was, because it kind of made us think, like, oh, you know, which is very high school. 17, 18-year-olds, it's like, love.
That's fair.
Like, that's
maybe,
all it's about. And then it's
maybe
actually,
I'm just...
It isn't.
Okay. Right.
That's a subplot to this very...
right. And I don't...
Plot.
Right. And I don't mean that that's the focus at all. I was just curious about opinions on just the fact that they made that a part of it, is that she ended up getting a crush on him at some point along the way.
For me, I think that it's not unrealistic for me.
Yes.
Right. And I think I'm forgetting the high school thing. I think that's maybe one of my problems.
It's the high school thing, and I like it's not
it's someone noticing,
it's not unrealistic.
You
I did not doubt it.
Okay. Okay.
Do you guys think that it had the because this is how I saw it, because Kat actually asked me, I finished the movie, and she said something along the lines of, like, did they end up together? And I think the way that I thought of it in the end was, no, they didn't, because I think that they came to this kind of, like, mutual understanding.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to kind of describe it, where it wasn't love, it was just kind of like this complete understanding of each other. They're both suicidal. They were both kind of, like, ready to give up on not just the world, but themselves. And then finding that reason to live, I think, was the reason that, I think that was the biggest thing that brought them together.
And I think too, it goes back to their first initial fight. You know, I mean, of, like, both of them in that moment as kids, they're fighting against, like, they're fighting with each other, but they're fighting on their own shit.
Right.
That they're both dealing with.
They're both projecting onto each other their own things.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said.
But yeah, like, I was very happy that they didn't kiss at the end or anything like that, because after she, you know, almost commits suicide, he saves her. the whole thing happens, it would have, for me, felt, first of all, way too soon after that happened. And it would have felt codependent for me. Like, they were just, like, there's too much of a need for each other if that romantic aspect is added into it.
Okay.
I also
And
think,
the time for that would have been the fireworks, right? Can we agree on that? Like, if they were going to have them kiss, it would have been at the fireworks, and then she would have...
Oh, yeah. Yes. No, the sister and the mom left, and I was like, they're
this
alone.
is it.
I was like, oh.
And the fact they didn't make that was...
She's in the kimono.
But that's the thing. It actually, you know, funny enough, like, you're right, though, but it completely subverted the stereotypical expectation, because actually she was at her lowest point at that moment versus what should have been more typically the highest.
Which is a great depiction of masking.
Right, 100%.
Great depictions of masking throughout this whole show. Like,
crazy.
And I think too, you know, this is a great representation of, like, if we dive back 2 steps back into their relationship, of when someone is going through the same thing as you, especially at that age, you almost can't help but romanticize that. I mean, 500 Days of Summer is a great example, right? You get Tom.
I love that movie so much.
We all do, but we know the problematic sides as we get older. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh my God, she likes these same things as me, this, and this. She's my soulmate. Where, of course, it's like you get that instance of her being like, he learned sign language. He brought me this bread. He's here hanging out with me. I love him. And then it's like, actually, I just identify with him, and maybe I'm not in love with him. Maybe I care for him a great deal. But at 17 and 18, when we don't have those emotions running through our day-to-day, and they're very brand new, it becomes so, like, top tier, you know? Which I thought, like, reflecting back, it's like, oh, that's what happened mid-story, is this, like, top-tier affection that they had towards each other that was romanticized and viewed in a way a little bit fantastical, like them on the train where the lights hitting and it's this whole moment in time. But all of a sudden, when you're saving someone from jumping off, you know, a building, it's not romanticized. It's not fantastical. It's very real. And I felt from that moment on, it was just like, oh, I deeply care about you. This isn't school kid crushing.
Okay.
You know?
Exactly. I think that was really well shown. Like, the other movie I think about a lot, especially after this, is The Eternal Sunshine.
Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind.
Because I think that it's very telling. And I think this would have been a completely different story. Imagine if he had, when he almost died and he was in a coma, if they showed Shoko at his bedside every day after that, this could have been a completely different story.
Yeah.
But she wasn't, because she was dealing with her own shit.
Yeah.
And she had her own stuff going on.
Great point.
And that's very much like The Eternal Sunshine, where, like, they had this moment of what I would call infatuation, but not necessarily love.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference between those two things. Like,
and
this movie's getting at so much more than that.
Yeah,
but, like,
and that scene of when they sort of share a dream together, that's like, I feel like that's classic anime for, like, you guys shared an emotional experience and you're now like spiritually connected to each other. Which, like, and that's what it is now. It's no longer, I like you, I have a crush on you. Oh, like, they didn't have a dream that they kissed or anything. They had a dream that they, like, they just, like, were there with each other.
And then they spoke about death together. Life and death.
Yeah.
I think the other character we should talk about real quick is the younger sister.
I love Yuzuru. I love
character.
Yuzuru. She's the best. Man.
Do you think that she had as much of an actual story? Because I think that her story was as far as progression and like understanding what, like, I'd like to hear your opinions on it.
Yeah.
Her feeling of helplessness was amazing, because I was always when the one that obviously it was meant to hit hard, but the one that hit hard was the reveal of why she was taking photographs of all the dead animals and bugs, and because she's her older sister's only friend, like legit. And so she's the only one who probably ever heard her say, I want to die. I want to kill myself. And then being in the position of how do I help somebody, or how do I make somebody stop saying this?
Right.
And her
Yeah.
being a little child was, maybe I could show her how sick death actually is. Like that's
Right.
just such a good image of what a
Yeah, so
child's
genuine.
mind can do.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was so good at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also shows
Yeah.
like, you know, then if you go back and rewatch that movie and look at how protective she is of her at the beginning,
Mhm.
saying like
Uh-huh.
she's not here, I'm her boyfriend. It like
Yeah.
it makes so much more sense in the context.
Yeah.
Really well
Uh-huh.
done.
Yeah.
No, 100. Yeah, absolutely. And I really connect. I connect with the feeling of helplessness. That scene really got me, and the scene when Shoko's mother and Yuzuru both go like full bow to the floor
Oh yeah.
for Shoya's mom.
Oh man.
I was sobbing because I just thinking about those specific feelings when you're encountering a situation like that. The helplessness is like the first thing, and it is so tough to get that out of your head, you know.
Absolutely.
I really,
No,
very effective.
I think with Yuzu, something that was so well put into play that happens a lot when it comes to siblings of someone in the family who is disabled mentally or physically. There is a lot of guilt usually, or there's a lot of like I am the child that can do these things. I can do this, and that. And there is a responsibility that's usually in play. And I felt like that was really, really well orchestrated in the sense of like, I am required to make sure that she, first of all, lives.
Right.
And second of all, can participate in the day to day and feel as normal as possible.
Which is why Yuzuru is
Yes.
so mature.
Yes, and it's like you have this child, and I've read many stories. I know many people in real life, you know, who have dealt with this. They're literally, she's older than this. I would say
It's
she's
very
probably
like My Sister's Keeper.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yes, very My Sister's Keeper of like I have to take this responsibility on, and they're a kid.
They're a kid.
They
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Right.
She should be having
Yes.
fun, not worrying about this, and yet her constant fear, the reason she is not going to school, is because of
And
her
we
sister.
we
Yeah.
see that
Yeah.
guilt in
Yeah.
Shoko. I think that it's like very evident that Shoko feels like a burden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
I think that that's also translated really well. I actually have a cousin who's deaf,
Mhm.
and she has an older brother who I love to death. But their kind of relationship definitely becomes, and they fall back into this, and I've had this conversation with them before, but like, the older brother kind of becomes the translator without even thinking about it
Yeah,
when he doesn't necessarily need to be.
yeah.
And especially now that my cousin who is deaf had a
Hearing
implant,
aid?
whatever
Yeah.
the
Oh, cochlear
surgery
implant.
where she can-
Cochlear implant?
yes, cochlear implant.
Yeah.
She can communicate just fine herself now, and she's still kind of they fall back into that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's just this thing that and you see that in the entire summer sequence that Shoya has with them, where he's communicating through Yuzu through her. I mean, she's even sitting between them when they go to lunch, at like whatever the McDonald's kind of restaurant is.
Yeah.
And they're talking
Yeah.
like through her.
Right.
When they communicate, he knows sign language. You know,
Yeah.
he does
like
it
it could. It's very telling in that way. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I took ASL.
and I think that-
oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, please go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I took ASL in high school, and I really gravitated towards it, and I need to get back into it because I learned it really fast, and then moved to LA and did other things and forgot it. But there were some things I could understand while watching the film, and something that I thought was interesting for me is like there were even moments where Shoya was like. The one moment where he reintroduces her to her friend, that one that left school, that was kind of her interpreter back when.
Nyoko, yeah.
And he's kind of understand,
Nyoko.
yeah, Nyoko, and they're talking about stuff, and he can understand it. And a lot of stuff with like, especially deaf culture, if you can understand ASL and you're sitting across the room and you're watching two people who can speak ASL, it actually is really appropriate to be like, hey, I can understand ASL. I mean, that's American Sign Language, but sign language in general. And just be like, hey, I can understand this. And I think there was a moment where he felt awkward because he was able to understand the barrier of what they were talking about. And I thought there were fun little.
They brought something up that was like very, very like what you consider to be like girl talk or like you know like private.
Exactly. And he was like, I know what's happening, and I have to walk away.
Right.
But that was a moment for me where it's like the fact that both of those characters, him and her, took the time outside of this moment when they were in 6th grade to actually continue learning sign language was huge. And they were both there. They're both older. It's almost been 10 years. I mean, not, but like 5 years.
10 years.
Hey, tell you what. 5? That's almost 10.
It's like basically round up.
Yeah, that's halfway. That's halfway.
But they were like, okay, here we are at these different stages in our life where we couldn't understand this girl, and now we both can. And who are we now? Which I felt was huge.
Right.
We are not these people that we were before, and I think especially still in your teens, that's very shocking.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sure. And then the last thing I want to take on Jacob was the best friend that he makes in high school, Tomohiro.
I love Tomohiro.
Dude,
he's my favorite character too.
Was the dude from My Hero?
That's what I said.
I thought it might
he's like Mineta, or Mineta. Yeah. Except
that was my first thought.
I love Tomohiro because he's the type of friend he's the type of friend you want.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He's a guy that.
Do you think that he saved him in some type of way? Like, do you think that this is a completely different story without him, or do you think?
I think he helps. Absolutely.
I
think he does, because he was the first, and actually this integrates into one of the points that I really wanted to bring up. That my favorite thing in this movie is the visualization of having the X's over people's faces for how he's shutting people out.
That was my favorite thing as well.
Right.
Yeah,
and
magic.
And Tomohiro was the first one where it slides off after he helps him. And because not just because he helped Tomohiro with the bike issue, but because Tomohiro went out of his way to then find his bike and re-give the favor. You know?
Well, Mariah and I say, you guys say My Hero Academia. Mariah and I are musical theater fans.
Yes.
We say Elder Cunningham from Book of Mormon.
Oh my God!
Yes.
But
that's my favorite musical, guys.
Yes. Okay. Amazing. Yes. That's where we were. I was like, dude, Elder Cunningham, and then we could not stop because he was just like, you are my friend.
And like that's what
you're my friend.
For someone
so good.
It's gonna baptize him, baby.
Yeah.
For someone like Shoya who has that sort of like self-sacrificial quality, like he needs a ride or die friend like that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I like that. And I like that Tomohiro was, in a way, honestly, a lot more emotionally mature than a lot of these other people when it came to the really hard stuff.
Oh my God,
because he was the only one out of the entire group that when Shoya decided to say the worst thing that he could say to push them away, he was the only one that said, you know what? You don't mean it. I'm going to give you some space.
Yeah.
And he was hurt, but he knew that it wasn't legitimate. You know,
that's
true.
Huge. That's huge. True friendship.
It's huge.
And like that's something that I wouldn't even fault my friends if they didn't pick up on that.
No.
But he picked up on it.
No.
Right. And that's how you know that he, you know, for as goofy as he was, or as like kind of like goofy possessive as he was about his like one friend, you know, ultimately he's just a nice guy and he cares. Yeah. You know?
That last scene of them in the bathroom together was so well done.
Yeah.
It's just such a wholesome moment.
Oh my God.
Why don't you look at me?
I couldn't handle the mustache.
That was great.
I relate though.
It's like,
that's what it's like.
You did that for me?
My lucky stash. I think the theater scene also, at least to me, as like a dude who went through like different relationships in high school, him kind of saying the words of like, whenever you hear someone call themselves your friend, and like having that realization that you both see each other in the same light,
right?
It's such a magical moment, especially at like a young age. Where you're like, oh, thank God, it's not just me. You know, even if it's
because that's what he calls him. He calls him a best friend.
Right.
Like
And then I think that is the real moment where not just the X falls off, but like if they had it, like a circle would come across his face where he's like all of a sudden like this like oh my god, I have someone I can tell exactly. I can tell my feelings to this person. Like,
right.
I don't have to have any kind of barriers up.
Right, and it's amazing because even after the X falls off, he doesn't want to talk about what's hurting him inside. But then Tomohiro goes, "Come on, buddy, what's going on?" And then he does the whole thing where he takes the French fry, dips it in the ketchup, and uses it like a cigar. And he's like, listen. Let me tell you. Talk to me about your issues.
Yeah.
What do you? Yeah. Oh, I love it.
And
what do you want to know?
What
do you want to know?
He was amazing.
This movie needed a breath of fresh air because it tackled such intense themes, and he was that breath of fresh air in this movie.
He and Maria.
He and Maria were the joy. I love Maria.
Maria
look,
appear like, hello. Hi.
Hello.
Smiling.
Yeah. Oh,
guys,
no.
I don't wanna like cross that line too far with with other people on this podcast, but to understand where I was in my place in Arizona when I met Jacob. Here's kind of where I was at a place where like the girlfriend I had for the longest time, who is now my fiance, had left to go back to Wisconsin, and I needed people to live with. And I didn't have that many people in Arizona because I've only been there for like a couple of years. And Jacob, you were one of the people with the X's off your face. And I could ask someone to like be my roommate. And then Joe came in as like the third guy.
Yep.
And it was a very magical moment for
Joe's
me.
the third guy.
I'm glad we're on this. No, because seriously, like a couple minutes ago when you were talking about like that moment when you have that like we both think of each other as friends.
Yeah.
Because I was already friends with Jacob. We were
friends for a long time. Yeah.
Me and Jacob were deep, and Jacob has a good
skill
knack of like making people meet that he thinks should meet.
Mariah has that skill too. Can I just say?
Dude,
I also
it's a good skill.
That's a great skill to have.
It's fantastic.
We could both probably be producers at some point. You know? Yeah.
We'll network.
Yeah.
No, but like I remember the first night I met Ethan, we went over to his current apartment and stuff, and we played Smash Bros. And like, and it was so great. But then, you know, I'm getting to know this like stranger as I'm living with him. And I remember at I don't know if it was one of the nights that we were like out working out or something on the hill, pushing up the grocery cart.
You're my trainer,
grass.
Joe.
No, it was great.
Wait, I'm sorry. What were y'all doing? I don't know about this.
I asked Joe. I told Joe like, I need to get in shape again, man.
So we had you like wait. So we had you push a shopping cart up a hill like what's the Greek myth?
It was magical.
What's the Greek myth of the dude pushing the rock up the mountain?
I should know this.
Yes,
basically.
Oh my god.
No,
we showed up at this field, this empty field, and it's moonlight. Like picture this because it was this magical.
This is literally Midori on the beach. What is going on?
It literally was. Joe has always been a specimen as far as physical health. And I definitely have had ebbs and waves in that.
Just say it, Ethan. He's hot.
Oh my god.
Look, I won't deny it. So I asked him like, can I just hop along? Can I be your Can I be your sidecar on your motorcycle? That is clearly just a Harley Davidson. Rock that thing.
This is a great metaphor.
He took me out to this field. It was a legitimate field, was it not? It was like
a retention
200 yards of grass in all directions.
Joe's like, if you want to
and in the middle of it is like a Target shopping cart.
Yeah, we found the shopping cart in the middle.
It was just
the field,
there,
like straight up the center.
It was like out of a sword.
That's your master sword.
It was a side quest, but a main quest. You know?
Yeah. It was. They even had like the little blip of light like coming off of it.
Oh yeah.
So it was your fucking master sword.
Yeah.
And Joe says, see this cement
God.
kind of like slope over here that rainwater is meant to run off of?
Yo.
Run that bad boy up and down that thing 6 times.
Oh my god.
And then talk to me. And then talk to me. I'll be over here doing perfect push-ups while you do that.
So just, oh my god. So Joe, so you were literally you were Uncle Iroh. He was Zuko. You're sitting there sipping the tea, and he's training. That's
it was
what's
more
happening.
of like a was more like a Rock Lee, like because I felt like more of like a
How
Rock
many
Lee
training
like
sequences
guy.
are you guys gonna reference? Like, wow.
Mr. Miyagi.
Miyagi.
Yo, Ethan really is the Karate Kid. I feel that.
it was really great, but it was
Wax
one of those
on, wax
moments
off, baby.
where
Woo,
I
woo.
think like on the run back home or something, and maybe I'm confusing two memories, but I remember Ethan
Maybe.
saying something and being like, "Yeah, dude, I mean, you're my friend," and I was just like,
Wow.
"Oh," because it was like up until that, and I feel like I might be confusing two memories right now, but. I had that moment and because like I was living with this stranger and I was like, I really like this dude. Like he's fantastic. I'm super glad Jacob brought him into my life.
Hell, I know
And
what
he was
I
just
know what
like-
ours was, Joe. I remember.
And now you're a groomsman in my wedding, both of you.
It's so good. But yeah, integrating back into the movie.
Sorry about that.
Mariah
Yeah, what's
and I
up?
had, we had a moment where we were like, I consider you like one of my best friends.
It's
And you're
one
like-
of those moments of like, are you my best friend? It's like, you're
It's
one of my
like,
best friends?
all right, let's
Oh,
feel this
shit.
out. Oh fuck.
Yeah.
We had a moment where we were
It
like,
kind of has to be a conversation.
we
Where does that
said
sound?
to each other, I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you would be one of my bridesmaids.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. It's like, you'd be one of mine. And then we look at each other and it's like, are you one of my best
Are we best
Like,
friends?
you
Are
were
we best
best
friends?
Yeah.
Okay. We're on the same page.
Okay,
It
okay,
was such a
thank God.
great,
That's awesome.
like, it's such
Yeah.
a great moment always.
Yeah.
No,
Where we,
yeah, like-
come to that mutual realization.
Oh yeah.
Friends,
like
I
Jacob
will
and
have
I.
to say, I have to get going soon. So
Okay.
maybe-
Oh, frick.
I don't
Okay,
know.
okay,
I want to know everything. I want to know all your stories. Please let
Okay,
me know.
okay. Tune
Yeah.
in next time to hear
Yeah.
me and Jacob's story.
Yeah,
I wanna know
exactly.
all of it. I mean, Jacob, if you want to sum it up real dang quick, I would love to hear.
Okay, yeah. It was past midnight in the parking lot of our high school in my
Yes,
car,
I'm so glad
and
you said
we were blasting fucking Muse of all bands. I don't know why it was Muse. It was Muse.
High school.
And we were
So high
blasting
school.
Muse and fucking screaming at the top of our lungs. And Joe could hit the high notes, but I have a naturally deep voice, and it don't really work like that. But
The
I just
ownership.
but I just remember like we did that, and then like we had a moment where we're just sitting there, and we're like, damn, it's late as shit, and we've been talking for like 5 hours.
Yes.
We were
So-
talking because we started talking when school got
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And it was like,
No.
and
That's
it
how you
was
know,
like,
dude.
it was
Yeah. That's how you
late
know.
at night.
And that was it. That was really it from that point on. And I mean,
Mhm.
and then we did some great shows in high school, and then we
Through theater and
through
whatnot.
theater and all
That's
that,
awesome.
and then we just kind of went from there. And then anime has honestly also been a really good thing for connecting all of us when we all lived together too. I mean, Ethan and I watched a show together. You and Ethan kept up on Dragon Ball Super every time an episode came out.
That
You
was
know?
really fun watching an episode when it actually
Yeah.
came out, which
Yeah.
was different.
I mean,
but
that sounds like completely like me and Claire. It's like we met
Yeah.
in theater, and then we, it turned into anime too. Of like, come over, let's hang out, let's talk the shit for 5 hours, then let's watch anime.
Yeah.
You know,
which
That's the
like
joy.
it's so good. It's so good to
Yeah.
have
That's the joy.
connections with people on certain things like that, and like
yeah,
because
Yeah.
I feel like theater falls into a unique kind of category like that, and anime as well.
yeah.
And then if you find somebody who's into both things with you,
I
you're like,
know.
oh,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, 100%.
this is not normal.
I kind of do
Yeah.
like hey, I hate to say it, but you have me forever, baby. Like,
We're
I'm
stuck
gonna
with each
annoy
other.
you till you die. Yeah,
Facts.
That's it.
Facts.
That's great.
Till death do
Love
we
you means
till
you're never ever gonna wait. How's it
Yeah,
go?
you never.
That's awesome.
Hey, Waitress
Yeah.
Cabaret, when things open up, come to LA.
Hell
We'll figure
yeah.
it out.
All
We'll
day.
do it.
Ooh.
We'll
All
fly you
day.
out.
All right.
We won't.
Yeah.
We'll fly you out.
Anyway, so should we do so should we jump into our
Yeah,
ratings
yeah,
of
I'll-
the
Yes.
Yeah, if
Let
I-
me describe this.
I'm sorry.
Alright,
I'm
you
sorry.
go ahead.
I got one thing I want to shoot right at the
Yeah.
end here,
Please.
just to integrate this
Shoot
ending
from
really
the hip.
quick. Shoot from the
Please.
hip all day.
Bang bang.
The main thing that I think hit the hardest for me was the ending, and it's just that and the visualization of him finally taking his walls down for me was my favorite part of the movie, just within its own condensed scene. Because I can't tell you how much I was that guy to a T. I used to look at the floor every day. I never looked people in the eye. I didn't recognize when people were trying to interact with me because I just assumed that they didn't like me.
Yeah.
I did that forever.
Absolutely.
And then the day that like it all clicked and I had that same exact moment where it's like something just lifted. And I straight up, I'm serious, and this is why I was like so exhausted coming out of it. I fucking sobbed.
Yeah.
I hadn't been like that. I hadn't like felt that feeling of like you can just let that stuff go and find a way to just live.
Yeah.
Because you have the right to live. That's always the thing when you're dealing with depression and you're dealing with these things that cause you to be suicidal or think suicidal. The ultimate thing that you have to come back around to is that regardless of where you're at, the value of life is more important. They said in it I forget exactly how they worded it. It was like there's nothing bad enough for you to answer with taking your own life or something like that. And that was like a thing that just like it's tough when you're in it, but that's the thing you have to keep in your head is that there's so much more that's worthwhile ultimately. And I think that's really what the movie ended up being about.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. That visual motif of like it's so simple, just like the X's falling from the face. Yeah. But after they do, like there's so much movement around him in that scene. Yeah. And there's so much color and there's like confetti coming down and then he starts crying. Yeah. That was like the build up and the music is incredible.
Yeah. And,
so
and,
good.
And that's what I mean. It's he finally got to experience the world again.
Yeah. Every element of how they did that was towards this one goal of making you feel and see the world like how he's seeing it right now.
Exactly.
I will say that I said to Claire, because this is going to be gone in the archives. We're not going to put out this video because of audio issues.
Right.
But I said to her, I was like, it's going to be the testament if I cry, because that day I did take my daily 20 milligrams of Lexapro and a Xanax. So I was like, will I cry today? And that happened at the end. And the sad stuff was getting me angry and frustrated, but that beautiful moment of release, I did cry. Yeah. Because it opened something different. Yeah, it was definitely a release. Yeah. And I think all of us can understand that in some way. And same, Jacob. Like, I've been that kid before too, and like especially in high school. God.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I just thought the world, everyone hates me. I am gross, I'm weird, I'm dumb, I'm this, and all of a sudden when I let that go and was like, I'm allowed to have friends at a very similar time as
me too.
As Ashoya. I kind of did have that moment of
you're valid.
And when that happens, you cry. Yeah. You let it out, that release of just like, fuck, like I can be alive, and I can matter to people. It's a crazy thing.
It's like such a simple realization, and it's so powerful in its simplicity.
It is.
Yeah. Can I just want to be honest with you guys for a quick second. And say that I was 100% the Shimada, the guy who like when I was a freshman, I was friends with seniors. Like I was that kid in high school. And and when I was at my senior year and all those kids that I thought I was the cool guy for being friends with were gone, that's when I broke down. That's when I was like, I don't have any relationships. I don't have anything because these people that went off to college, they forgot about me. Like I was just another guy at the lunch table. And at those, and I had the complete opposite relationship, almost to where like, I wouldn't say I was necessarily a bully, but I was definitely like the Naoka, the girl who who is quickly forgotten, but is always kind of there and is always kind of trying to relate, trying their best. And my senior year was so tough, like just trying to relate to people. And I think that Shimada is probably the closest to this, and not necessarily that they showed, but like, I think that the relationship can also be seen from the opposite perspective, where like these other people are just trying to like find that connection, that genuine connection again, whatever that might come through.
Yeah.
And that's the important part. Remember that you always have that you can always find that.
Yeah.
Situations can always change.
Yeah. And sometimes you do have to
I think that's the most important message.
Yeah, and sometimes you do have to let go of people. Sometimes that's just how you grow.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? But,
exactly.
So
or people let go of you, and that's also okay.
Like I don't mean to, keep this going much longer, but his interaction when he sees his friend from middle school at the carnival wherever.
Right. Yeah, Shimada.
And the ex immediately goes back over the face. I really felt that because I've had those experiences with like a falling out of a friend, and then you see them for the first time and you're immediatly just taken back.
Oh yeah.
It's okay to not like for situations like that, it's okay to just like not try to be friends with them again. Like it's okay to just let it go.
Sometimes there's a reason.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes there's a
reason. It's also okay for you to have that falling out, and then years later you miss that relationship.
Yeah.
And try again from a completely clean slate.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Which is probably like something that obviously couldn't show from this, but like something that like I think that if there were a Silent Voice 2, him finding his way back to like these middle school friends that like the Shimada, like the Hiroso, the guys that were like also his bully friends.
Yeah.
Who are kind of coming into adulthood and realizing like we don't have anything figured out.
Yeah.
Like that's when you can really reconnect with people.
Exactly.
Right. So anyway.
So the way that
you guys should know. We do a rating.
Okay.
It's a letter grade. So at the end of every show we watch, movie we watch, we give it a letter grade. A to D. There's also a S grade, which is like legendary.
Top
we
tier.
recommend this to anybody.
Top tier, yeah.
Yes.
It's literally it's fighting game. It's fighting game.
We have,
I'm here.
Joe, correct me if I'm wrong,
right.
but I think that you put the last movie you watched in S tier. Is that
I
correct?
did. Robot Carnival. I put
Robot Carnival. It's an anime anthology from the 80s.
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
Very cool.
And
So-
I
I have a list of animes to watch.
perfect.
And it's so long.
Me
Can you
too.
share that with us when we're done
too.
recording, please? Because I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yes, so we're going to do our letter grades. We'll let you guys go last just because we're throwing this on you
right.
at the last moment. But Jacob or Joe, do either of you have it figured out right away?
I 100% do because
yeah.
every single time,
Perfect. I figured you would.
every single time that I finish a show or a movie, I immediately go to my list and I put it where it goes because I straight up just look at it and I relate it to the
And I
other
promise
things.
to you, Devil Fruities, we'll put our lists out there.
Why are we calling them Devil Fruities?
They are the Devil Fruities.
I don't have any better.
I thought we were calling them the
Come on,
Corp.
No,
I thought,
Joe.
like, welcome to the Corp.
The Corp's probably better.
No. The Devil Fruities is iconic and you know it.
Oh my goodness.
Came straight out the dome. All right. Anyways. So yeah, every single time that I get done with a show, I look over my list and I see where it's set, and I literally just go through each one. I go, do I think this is better than this or worse than this? Blah 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 blah.
Oh yeah.
I put this at the top.
Whoa.
This is an S.
Oh.
Mainly because of the amount that it was able to affect me. I'm not one that cries easy. I've never been one to cry easy. It's a thing that I get frustrated about a lot. When something can invoke that much out of me, I know it's striking something that means something to me.
Yeah.
And the way I looked at it, I don't think there's anything on there because I have shows that are up on that list that I just like a lot. But this is a deeper feeling than that, you know? So yeah, this is genuinely the number one thing on my list. It's an S. 100%.
Wow.
No question. I loved this.
I don't have a list, but I would also say it's definitely an S tier for me.
Wow.
It's just for the fact of like we're ending this podcast here, and I feel like I want to say so much more.
Yeah, there's so much.
I feel like we only scratched the surface.
Yeah. Like there's symbolic things, there's visual things, there's the music that we touched on just slightly. There's
Hey, we can come
all
back.
the
Who knows
characters.
if my audio recorded?
Yo, let's just we can do round 2 of a solid voice. But no, yeah, I like right from the beginning of the movie with the scene of them snatching the hearing aids out of her ear.
Oh.
Like I don't know if you guys can see on these cameras, but I have very big glasses. And like growing up, technology was worse and I had bigger glasses. And I had like kids snatch my glasses off my face, and there was one time in elementary school where somebody like scratched my eye when they were grabbing it, and I like immediately thought of that when she was like bleeding from her ear and stuff. And yeah, like right from that minute I was like, oh man, I connect too hard right now. but like character wise I feel like I connect to somebody else, but whatever. It's yeah, S tier. I could ramble on for forever. It's S.
Ethan?
Joe, interesting relation to that is that I feel like I relate the most to Miyoka in a weird way, or Miyoko.
Yeah.
Because throughout middle school, I was kind of put in a position where I was taking care of someone who had a very immobilizing disability, to the point where I had to push them around in a wheelchair. Not had to, but was willing to, because they were a good friend of mine.
Sure.
They had spinal surgery. They had a halo, pins in their head.
Dang.
They had incredible amounts of surgery. And I was kind of their caretaker at school, to the point where it became almost as if I was part of this person, in the way that like they'd be missing from school for a day, and someone would ask me like, what's up with so and so? And it almost became part of my, I don't know how to describe it necessarily, but my
identity,
personality, my identity,
Yeah.
exactly. Where someone would say, "Oh, if there's X, there's me, there's Ethan as well," right?
Yeah.
He'd go to those same classes as I would, etc. And then in high school, he just physically was not able to show up anymore.
Right.
It just wasn't something he was able to do.
Mm.
And that left, and I saw that as a great burden off my shoulders at the time. But I think looking back on it now, I see it more as this kind of situation, and that's how I relate to it, because he was bullied horribly. And I was the innocent bystander, where I was more concerned about my social identity and my standing with my classmates, where I was like almost desperately trying to separate myself from this person.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. And so I think that I was seeing it through that lens, and I'm getting choked up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm gonna give it an A, and I think that it has all the right. If you're gonna watch anime for drama, if you're gonna watch any kind of movie to feel like you're watching life through someone else's lens, and you want to put yourself in new shoes, or you want to feel like you can identify with more people than yourself, you kind of want to see through new eyes. This is a perfect film.
Yeah.
You can't find much better than this. You can go to HBO and watch like the $50 million.
Yeah.
The $50 million film that was made, 2 months ago, it's not going to be that much better than what you're going to get out of this.
Mm.
And I think that's super powerful. And that's all in the writing. That's all in the performance of the voice actors, the art. All that comes together to make a great film.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it an A. I think the only reason it's not an S tier is because I have some issues with some of the minor characters.
Right.
Kind of where they left
sure.
off.
Right, which totally fair.
That's honestly just because I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
I think if this was a 3-hour film, it'd be different. I'm glad it wasn't a 3-hour film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because holy fuck.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
And if I think it's the kind of thing where, like, I'm sure if I read the manga of this film, or even if this was an episodic
series,
anime, they'd be able to give Naoka and even like these side characters who were the guys in middle school, like Shimada and Yashiba, the boyfriend of whoever Miki's.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that those obviously have more development in the manga than what we're able to see. Just coming off, I'm rambling now, but Shoya and Shoko's relationship and the movie itself, it's an A. It's great. It's phenomenal. You're gonna feel things. All of us cried.
Yeah.
I got choked up just talking about it just now.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Mm.
So I'll pass it off to you.
All right,
guys.
Yeah, I can go next. So
Yes.
I don't think I've mentioned this, but I'm a senior narrative studies major at USC, which means I literally my major is that I study different forms of storytelling in different forms of media. So I always sort of, whenever I view new content, I view it from that lens of like, how is the storytelling working in this format? And with The Silent Voice, this is a story that I think can only be achieved to the caliber that it was achieved in animation.
Yes.
With
Right.
like the visual motif of the X's, the dynamic movement of the scenes, like this could only be achieved in animation. And it's why I think anime is an art form. Like this movie is the perfect example of like anime is not just, like big titty anime girls, whatever, like something for 12-year-olds. Like this is art. And I think for that reason, even though I have some issues with the minor characters as well, this story is universal. Everyone can take something away from it. I know personally, like, I've dealt with a panic disorder, and so the X motif was something that I really related to. But anyone can relate to any part of this movie.
Right.
And because of that, I think it's S tier, where I would recommend it to anyone. Especially as, like, if you feel like you're not that into anime, I would recommend this movie for beginners to see how beautiful anime could be.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's something that we've talked about with Violet Evergarden, which we're watching right now.
Yeah. Same thing.
I think that is exactly what you're saying, Claire. Like, that the fact that it's anime only elevates it.
Yeah.
Because it's art, and because you can accomplish exactly what is coming out of the artist's mind, as far as like panel for panel, here's what I'm picturing, instead of it being like, here's what I'm trying to accomplish through real life means. And that feels like I'm watching an HBO drama. That's what Violet Evergarden feels like.
Yeah.
And I feel like that this film in particular felt very much in that same vein.
Yeah.
Where this could have been like a Netflix special, movie. This could have been HBO. This could have been any kind of drama where they put the story first and they found great actors. But at the end of the day, the writing is so good, like you can't do it wrong, and the animation only elevates it.
Yeah.
So, I kind of almost opposite, not opposite, but not the same vein as Claire. Whereas like going to film school for me, I think for a really long time, I was critiquing films in a way where I was like, oh well, technically I don't like this film, but it was like, did I walk away and enjoy it?
Mm.
You know, and so I lately within these last couple of years have just kind of taking any sort of predetermined judgment I would have based on like storytelling or characters or whatever, and just is like, how did I feel about this movie?
I get that.
And I think, like we said, we could all agree this enabled a really emotional response out of all of us.
Yeah.
Likewise to Claire, like I have, and I've had since I was like 8, very severe anxiety disorder. I get those X's. They were crazy and surreal to me. So much of these scenes hit me in a really wow kind of way. I'm gonna give it an A, and here's why. This is purely opinion in me, but I actually think it'd be really hard for me to watch this movie again, and that's the only reason I give it an A. I think looking back, and when we were talking before, a lot of those bullying scenes, I was like, oh, I find these like triggering, but I'm not sure why. And even 24 hours later, thinking about them is very hard. Part of that is a reason I'm not totally sure why. Yes, I was bullied a little bit in school, but not to that extent, obviously. I don't know why I feel this like very strong feeling from it, but I think that's the only reason why I wouldn't recommend it to everybody.
No, and that's fair.
Great point.
Yeah, the feeling that it came out of for me is strong to where I went, I loved this movie. I want to talk about it with everyone I know who's seen it, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, I still wouldn't watch it again because of how I felt. Or I'd fast forward 40 minutes in.
Right.
Which then makes me go, okay. But piggybacking off of what everybody said, like this, you know, these two main characters that we have and visualizing their lives and how this wasn't just a cliche, like romantic anime, and that wasn't what it was about, even though it almost sort of painted that picture within the first hour, I find to be fantastic. So yeah, long story short, that's the only reason why it's not S for me. Otherwise, of course, I mean, like, who can complain about an A?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right.
Still fantastic, but that's the only reason why it hit me in a different way.
Man, I think that is the highest rated anything we've done so far on the Devil Fruit podcast.
Damn.
Yeah. Sweet.
Can I just ask real quick before we sign off? Because I'm interested. If you guys have time for it.
Yeah.
I want to know like your perception on the female representation of females in anime, and like what you guys would like to see more of. In this whole media, because I think that from us, I mean, we can even say, I think all three of us, because we had to go out and find anime that was a strong female lead. That's something that we thought that our audience would enjoy. That we thought, I mean, this is before we watched Violet Evergarden in that Chooserama. We had to find something that the three of us saw the first episode of and wanted to continue, and that was concerningly difficult. Like going to Crunchyroll, going to Netflix, going to Hulu, like your standard streaming services, and finding an anime that has a strong female lead was way more difficult than I ever would have expected, even knowing what the anime landscape looks like.
Yeah.
So like, what coming in as a female, what do you want to see more of?
I mean, I can talk right off the bat. This is like, I do a lot of directing at my school, and the most recent show I directed was an all-female cast, where we talked about this sort of thing a lot. And I think like what's really important for me is to define strong female lead as not necessarily physically or even mentally strong.
Right.
Because going back, I mean, just because we have been watching Fruits Basket, I would say that Toru, which is the lead of Fruits Basket, is a great, strong female lead. Even though she is not physically strong and she displays a lot of feminine qualities, it's done so in a way that makes her three-dimensional. Right. So for me, what it is is she three-dimensional? Is she not just a foil for the male characters of the show? Is she actually doing something? Does she have her own motivations and her own reasons for doing things that go past just a general motivation of like, oh, well, I want to do this for the male character, or because the male character did this to me, now I'm mad, and so I'm going to work against him. Like, having that as a distinction is really important when looking at when I'm looking for strong female representation in any media, not just anime.
Right,
It's hard to find anywhere. Yeah.
I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. Honestly, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, strong to me isn't like, oh, Charlize Theron. You know what I mean? Like, could kick ass. It's just like they are a three-dimensional character that has thoughts and feelings that they have been thinking about for a long time. They're very developed.
Yeah,
who they are.
Because a lot of times, oh, sorry, you go.
No, you can say real fast.
I was just going to say real fast, like, a lot of times, like, stereotypical strong female characters in anime are actually pretty one-dimensional. Like, oh, yeah, this girl has a gun, so she must be, like, really badass and a great representation. But really, she, like, is only doing this because she's, like, sexualized or whatever. Like, it has to go, for me, and I'm picky about it. It has to be more than just like, ha, rah, rah, girl power. Like, they need to be a human.
I
agree.
think also, like, I think Claire and I can both say, you know, not to be cheesy as hell, but it's like, I'm the strong female lead of my life. I don't do anything for, like, a man or anybody else. Like, I'm doing it for me. But I'm also not slinging a gun. I'm not doing, like, these crazy things, but, like, doesn't mean I'm not badass as hell. You know, because I'm not doing it for somebody else, or I don't have, like, a melee weapon on my back. I think like, that's the thing, you know? It's like, I don't need that to define me as strong.
Right, you define yourself.
Perfectly fine. Exactly. Just existing, and if I have an anxiety attack, doesn't mean I'm not still the strong female lead.
Right,
like,
you're
that's
human.
Still real as hell. Exactly. So I think, you know, it's going completely off of what Claire said. It's like, strong is like, do you have a human female lead? Yeah. Do you have a genuinely honest female lead?
Right.
That's what matters.
That's what matters.
And like,
it doesn't need to be this crazy stereotype of strong.
You can have femininity. Like, femininity is does not make you weak. I think is the main thing.
But yeah, I would just be repeating the same thing.
Yeah, and like, if your character is more masculine, have it be for a better reason than she grew up with 7 brothers.
Yes,
like,
God.
Yeah.
She's masculine
for real though. That's a good point.
Interests. This is just who the fuck she is. That's why that's why I really liked like Yuzu in this film. It was like there were moments where, you know, Shoya thought. Wait, yeah. Shoya thought that Yuzu at first was a boy. Yeah. And we didn't even tap into that at all, because why did we need to? We didn't need to. You know? It's just like, that's this 13-year-old and their gender identity, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
So, I was more concerned with the possibility of the kid being homeless at first. I'm not gonna lie. Like I thought the movie was gonna go off on a like left turn.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But no, exactly. It wasn't a big point. It was a point, but it wasn't the massive factor of that character at all.
There wasn't somebody in the writer's room being like, here's our social commentary.
Right.
You know, that's what feels just like so forced and fake to me, where people who are being represented in that category, they don't want that. It's like, because that to them, they're not being forced in this life or in this world.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
Yeah.
Cool.
I do have to go.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yeah. That is totally fine. Time. So,
okay.
All that being said, if you want to plug your podcast or any other social medias again real fast before we sign out, feel free to do so.
Oh my god. Oh, okay, I'll go. You can watch us. Our podcast is the Anime Starter Pack. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and pretty much anywhere else you find podcasts. Mariah also has a YouTube channel, Mariah Rose Faith, and her Instagram is at Rostagram.
Do you want to plug yourself?
Oh shit.
You're like, I'm here for Mariah. I have her.
You have more stuff. MarahStagram. Rostagram.
Thank you.
My Instagram is claire.gershon. It's pretty simple.
Thank you.
But yeah, check us out if you want to just vibe with us, have some friends to watch anime with.
Yeah, simple.
I gotta say, that's how we found you guys, was your Instagram advertisement for your podcast. My girlfriend follows you guys, and she was like, Joe, I gotta. she was like, you like anime, and I know you like theater. Check this out. And I was like, what? And then I went and I watched the first episode of your podcast, and I was flipping out. I was like, okay, we gotta make this happen. And I'm so glad you guys were able to come on and have a good time with us. It is amazing.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah,
this is
it's been great.
This is so much fun.
Let's do it again, and I will be so much better prepared.
You're all good.
All good.
Yeah, we don't know what audio is gonna come from me.
Hey, you know what? Joe and I have kind of like slowly evolved into the main editors. We will.
You're gonna make it happen.
We'll sort it out. It'll be a good time.
Even if it's a medley of the episode.
Woo!
I'll pay you guys.
Yes.
I don't know what, but I'll pay you.
Oh man.
Anyway, love you guys.
Yeah.
Tell somebody you love them, and
Yeah.
have a wonderful night.